North of where the Prime Minister visited today is the hard-hit Shuswap region. An out-of-control wildfire has put thousands of properties under evacuation and forced thousands of people to leave, though some have stayed behind. The Columbia Shuswap Regional District Area's Director for North Shuswap, Jay Simpson, joins me. Hello, let's start with the fires themselves. What is the situation like now?
Well, Catherine, we're 8 days into this. It started last Friday night. We are still suffering from fires. The fires really in our communities that have been affected are in pretty good shape, but the fire is still raging up in the mountains, and BC Wildfires is still fighting that really hard.
So you've been dealing with this incredibly difficult situation, as you say, for over a week. Then on Wednesday, there's a particular amount of national attention as this tension comes about between protesters and the authorities. These people who say that they want to bring supplies in to people from the community who are trying to fight the fire. What do you understand that these demonstrators were really trying to do, and how did you feel about it?
Well, I appreciate the thought behind that, because we are short of supplies. There are roadblocks into our communities, and we are not allowed to get any supplies in. It was really critical earlier in the week when we were out there actively fighting, significant fires, and we were trying to get water bottles and sandwiches and those types of supplies to the people out there firefighting. And we were running out of bread and things like that. Now things are settled down to a dull roar. There are more avenues to get things in. But in terms of those protesters, it's often that they're looking for a hook to begin to get their message out. And certainly their message is not our message. We are here to take care of our community and work with BC Wildfires and work with our local fire departments and the Columbia Shuswap Regional District. The protesters were not in any way related to us, and we don't condone the actions that they were taking. Their suggested idea for making the protest, may have been valid, but their actions are not in any way that, nothing that we would like to see.
It's important, I think, for the audience to understand that you yourself are defying an evacuation order to stay and fight, as are many people in your community. Why?
Well, when this got started last Friday, BC Wildfires didn't communicate with us very well what their plan of action was. And unfortunately, we did not see them in the community. We had evacuated our loved ones, our families, a couple of days earlier, because we knew this was coming in, but we didn't have good feelings about where BC Wildfires was because they didn't let us know. So about 300 people is my guess stayed in our communities, which is about a 25 or 30 kilometer stretch along the lake that you see behind me. And we unfortunately just said, we're going to protect what we can. And so we stayed behind and worked really hard over the next few days to make sure that the fire didn't take more than it had to.
People who have been listening to any of the provincial briefings know that officials are saying it's not safe to defy an evacuation order and that it could put first responders in jeopardy. How do you react to that?
There's nothing safe about a fire. Absolutely. Us being here, the first few days we weren't working with anybody from BC Wildfires. It was the people in the community and our local fire departments in Scotch Creek, Solista, and Anglemont that were doing the majority of the work. We just didn't see them. We aren't all trained. Many of us certainly have backwoods experience. They're loggers or people working for companies that are in the area, and they are well trained in the forest. But the fires are a new animal, and fire is dangerous, no doubt about it. Whether you're working with trained personnel or not, it's a dangerous thing.
I can understand, I think, the instinct to want to save your home, especially if you have training. But that particular point that if something happened to you, someone else might be putting their life on the line to try to save a member of the community, a first responder. Does that give you pause?
In hindsight, certainly there are thoughts that You think about that and certainly say, I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope we don't get in trouble or not in trouble, but hurt and injured. And the 300 people that are stretched along the lake here, I hope nobody else gets injured as well, or nobody gets injured. We haven't had any injuries. We've been very lucky in that respect. But you do think about that after the fact. When you're in the heat of the moment, it really doesn't cross your mind.
Police have said that there have been efforts by some people to move vital equipment. Also, there was some reporting of threats of violence against safety personnel. Do you believe that that has anything to do with anyone in your community, or is this, again, a reference to people outside the community?
Well, in terms of equipment, I can see where equipment may have been moved from where it was placed. BC Wildfires was in here before the fire and did place equipment. They placed hoses on the road and things like that. During the Friday night and Saturday, when the fire was at its most intense, our community was out there fighting it and saving homes and doing the things that we needed to save our community. If there was equipment that was laying on the road that we could use, we did borrow it, potentially move it. I mean, I wasn't involved. I don't know of any particularly, but I can see how that would happen. This is, an intense fire. You're working real hard. You've got a water pump, you've got water, but a hose that doesn't reach another 100 feet, and there's a hose there lying on the road. You're going to go pick it up and move it so that you can get another 100 feet of hose to save your house. It's just a natural thing. There was no intent to steal, but repurpose, use. That's just a natural action. In terms of altercations or potential conflicts between our local volunteer fire departments and the people on the ground, I again haven't witnessed that personally, but you know what? We're working 20-hour days, putting out fires in dangerous situations. You're tired. Stress is high, and you and I both know that you can have a conflict with your sibling without any difficulty. So these guys are all out there working their butts off, and sometimes words get said, right?
Now, I understand they're getting better, essentially, with officials in the last few days. The province now says that they're willing to work with residents who have experience fighting fires, but, quote, we have to work together. People can't do their own thing. Do you think that that's something that everyone in the community can agree on?
Absolutely. I mean, this fire is of such magnitude that there is no way that our community members can put this out. We need the help of BC Wildfires. And, truthfully, BC Wildfires needs our help too. We've got so many fires in BC right now, and BC Wildfires is just spread so thin. They don't have the personnel or the equipment. Our local community does have businesses with skidders and excavators and the equipment that is needed to make fire breaks. And BC Wildfires is happy to work with us, and we need them, so we're happy to work with them. And over the last 3 or 4 days, our communication has gotten much better. We're working together. We're fighting on fires together. Today, we have a group of about 25 people who are experienced in the forest, and they're taking a one-day training course so that they can work in more close quarters with BC firefighters and be safe.
Just before I let you go, when you look to the future for your community from this incredible, stressful vantage point that you're standing at, what do you see?
We all have to be smarter. BC Wildfires, I would like them to be much more communicative, get information out to us, let us know what their plans are. It was really scary when we were here and there wasn't anybody from BC Wildfires around. We just had to take those things into our own hands. We haven't really had a chance to look too far into the future, but the way I'm looking at it right now, we need to make sure that our youth, the kids in school, get some training on wildfire fighting and wildfire, how things work. And starting from grade 1, if our community gets to be more knowledgeable about how that works, then we're going to be safer here. We'll be able to work with BC Wildfires better. There are other things that we can look at doing, but we haven't really gotten to the point where we can look too far ahead yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I just wanted to ask you in closing is none of us has a crystal ball, but you're 8 days in this demanding physical, mental struggle, any sense of when this could end?
You know, the blockades that we have here, because we're in the evacuation zone, it's really a challenge because we're still not getting all the supplies in that we need. We're really short on diesel and gas and things like that. But they're not allowing that to come into the local population in the evacuation zone because we're supposed to be staying on our own properties. So that's the biggest challenge we have inside here. You know, as we go forward, I think that'll clean up. I can see this happening for another week. I mean, our power is still out. Cold showers aren't much fun, but I'm getting used to them. So it's just you know, BC Hydro is in here. They're making the connections that they need to. We have a little bit of power in Scotch Creek right now. We hope that they build that out as fast as they can.